Dear friend, let us talk about a moment that truly terrifies us all. It is not the big fall or the diagnosis you fear. It is the sudden, silent moment when you realize you might no longer be fully in charge of your own life. We worry about running out of money, yes. We worry about being a burden. But the deepest fear is losing the sharp mind that kept you safe and independent for decades. I'm talking about the moment the brain confuses a signature. Imagine this. You are standing at the bank, or maybe at the closing table for refinancing the house, or just signing for a package at the door. You hold the pen, and suddenly, for a second, you freeze. Not because you forgot your name, but because the complexity of the form, or the quick demand of the clerk, makes the whole process blur. You hesitate. You doubt if you are signing the right line, or if you should be signing at all. This momentary confusion is a silent alarm bell. It means your processing speed, the mind's internal guardrail, is struggling. And it is this struggle, this subtle cognitive fog, that puts people over 70 at the greatest risk of financial disaster, legal mistakes, or falling prey to scams. This is not simple forgetfulness, like misplacing your keys. This is losing the clarity required for crucial decisions about your health, your home, and your money. And frankly, this is the fog doctors often ignore. When you mention small confusions, they often smile gently and say, "That's just aging, dear." We need to be smarter than that. We need to look for the 4 sudden signs of this processing fog that indicate a growing risk to your independence. These signs often show up months, even years, before anyone notices actual memory loss. Pit Urtred, Sign 1. The paralyzing power of too many choices. The first sign appears when routine decisions suddenly become exhaustive puzzles. You used to be decisive. You knew exactly what detergent you wanted or which shirt matched your outfit. Now, simple choices feel overwhelming. Think about the grocery store. When you stand in the aisle, looking at 20 types of cereal, does your mind suddenly stall? Does the task of simply picking one drain all your mental energy? This paralysis also strikes when dealing with money. You sit down to pay the bills, a stack of envelopes waiting. Instead of calmly prioritizing rent, then utilities, then credit cards, you might find yourself staring at the stack for 15 minutes, unable to decide where to even begin. You feel a physical tiredness just thinking about the sequence of steps. This isn't laziness. This is your brain's processing unit using too much wattage on simple input, leaving nothing left for executive action. If deciding between ketchup brands is exhausting, how sharp will you be when a fast-talking solicitor calls asking for your social security number? Dictor Beesser. Sign 2. The signature stress and form. Friction. The second sign is directly related to the greatest risk, documentation. Establish the signature fear, but let's look closer. This sign manifests as sudden difficulty navigating routine paperwork. You know the forms, the doctor's intake sheet, the medication refill request, or even just signing the back of a check. Your hands know how to write, but your mind struggles with the context. You might sign the date section instead of the name section, or suddenly struggle to remember if the year is 2024 or 2025 for a quick moment. Crucially, you might start misreading basic instructions, even if the words themselves are simple. For example, a form might ask you to initial the second box if you agree to the terms. You read the words, but your brain struggles to connect the action, initialing, with the condition, agreeing, and the location, the second box. This inability to correctly process and execute documentation is why so many seniors become targets. If you struggle to fill out your prescription slip accurately when you're calm, think about the confusion if you are pressured by a pushy salesperson or worried about a looming deadline. This fog makes you legally vulnerable. Sign 3. The low tolerance for home chaos. The third sudden sign is found right inside your peaceful home, a dramatic drop in your tolerance for unexpected changes or clutter. If you are generally a neat person, a bit of unexpected mess used to be annoying, but manageable. Now, a pile of mail on the counter, or your grandchild leaving a few toys out causes disproportionate anger or intense frustration. Why? Because your mind is working harder just to keep track of the normal routine. It is using valuable processing power just to maintain order. When something unexpected happens, a sudden visitor, a small mess, or even a minor change in the furniture layout, your brain registers it as a massive, unacceptable input error. This lack of mental bandwidth means you become emotionally frayed far faster than before. You might snap at family over small things, or feel intense anxiety because you can't find the TV remote, even though it's sitting in plain sight. This sign is dangerous because it leads to social isolation. If maintaining the home feels like constant warfare against clutter, you start avoiding guests and even avoiding trips out, further limiting the mental stimulation needed to fight the fog. The protective peace of your home is replaced by irritable anxiety. Sign 4. Losing the sequence of a task. The final, and perhaps most vital, sign of processing fog involves losing the step-by-step instructions for familiar activities. This is often called sequence loss. You have been making your famous apple pie for 40 years. You know the recipe by heart. But recently, when you start mixing the ingredients, you stop and think, wait, did I add the sugar or not? The stakes are highest when it comes to health. Sequence loss means you might struggle with the complex task of managing multiple medications. You might start preparing your pill box for the week, but halfway through, you genuinely cannot remember if you put Tuesday's pills into the Monday slot or if you took the morning dose already. This is a crucial distinction. It is not forgetting what the pills are for. It is losing the ability to track the multi-step process. This is a sign that directly threatens your daily independence and safety. If you cannot reliably execute a multi-step process like driving a new route, following a complex recipe, or accurately taking medication, your ability to live safely alone is severely compromised. We have identified the warning signs, the silent ways the fog begins to creep in and threaten your signature and your savings. But identifying the problem is only the first step of wisdom. The most important wisdom is learning the habits and simple methods to strengthen those processing centers and protect your independence. In the next part, we will discuss the 3 specific daily habits you must adopt right now to clear this fog. One of them involves the way you listen to sound, and it is a simple protection that costs nothing and takes only 5 minutes a day. Stay with me, because those habits are the key to keeping your mind sharp and your money safe for years to come. The first few signs of brain fog, as we discussed, are often dismissed as simple aging, the missed appointments, the names that stay just out of reach. But the real danger arrives when this fog starts to interfere with your ability to manage your life and protect your assets. This brings us to the second sudden sign, the one that tells you your brain is struggling with complex sequences, the paperwork paralysis. We're not talking about forgetting what you ate yesterday. We are talking about the routine tasks that used to be second nature, but now feel like climbing a muddy hill. Think about managing your household budget. In the past, you could sit down, sort the mail, pay the utility bills, verify the insurance statement, and balance the checkbook, all within an hour. Now, that stack of mail sits untouched for 3 days. Why? Because reading that insurance form, which requires cross-referencing 3 separate figures and understanding dense legal terms, is suddenly exhausting. Your brain is having trouble with sequencing and filtering complex data. You start avoiding the kitchen table where the bills pile up. You postpone that call to the bank. You put off reviewing that agreement from the contractor, thinking, I'll do it when I have more energy. This is when you are most vulnerable to making mistakes that confuse a signature, mistakes on forms, bad investments, or accidentally signing up for something you don't need, just because the complexity overwhelms you. This is critical. If a once simple multi-step task, like setting up a new TV box, paying 5 different bills, or following a complex recipe, now feels impossible, it is not laziness. It is your brain signaling it needs rest and a simpler approach to protecting your documents and your money. A safe, peaceful home depends on clarity, but cognitive fog steals clarity by making every decision feel monumental. which leads us directly to the third sign, often mistaken for just getting cranky: the sudden intolerance to noise and clutter. A common ignored symptom of cognitive overload is that your brain loses its ability to filter incoming sensory information. When you were younger, you could cook dinner while listening to the news, talking to your spouse, and maybe supervising a child doing homework. Your brain handled all those streams easily. But now, that simple environment feels like a chaotic marketplace. Perhaps the sound of the dishwasher running while the radio is on is enough to make you snap. Maybe you can't concentrate on a conversation at the dinner table if the grandchildren are laughing too loudly in the next room, or you feel physical anxiety just looking at the clutter on your desk. This isn't about becoming less tolerant of others. It's a direct sign that the processing capacity of your brain has been reduced. It's using up all its energy, just trying to manage the basics, leaving none left to filter out the background noise or organize the visual chaos. When this happens, you retreat. You seek silence. You become easily agitated, and you become less capable of having the clear, calm conversations needed to make important decisions about your health, your home maintenance, or your finances. You might dismiss someone's important advice just because their voice was slightly too loud or the room was too busy. This sensory overload is a flashing red light. It tells you that your environment needs simplifying immediately, not just for your comfort, but for the protection of your decision-making abilities. Peace in your home is protection for your signature. We need to understand that these shifts are not personal failings. They are signals that we need to adjust our environment and habits to protect our independence. In the next part, we will discuss the final and most crucial sign, a sneaky loss of balance that often precedes a major fall or health crisis, and I will share the simple, daily habit that wise elders use to train their brains to restore the clarity needed to face that pile of bills without fear. This habit only takes 5 minutes, and it is the key to ensuring your signature remains yours, clear and confident. This inner confusion we've been discussing doesn't just make you forget where you put your keys. It starts to sneak into the most critical areas of your life, your conversations about money, and your most important documents. We need to talk about the third sudden sign of fog, which is a subtle change in how you communicate when under pressure. Sign 3. The jumbled explanation and the need to fill the silence. Have you noticed sometimes when discussing something complicated, like insurance options, a change to your utilities, or even a health directive, that your words feel slippery? You know the answer in your head, but when you open your mouth, the explanation comes out tangled. You might use vague phrases like, you know, the thing that we talked about last month. Or you find yourself repeating the same question 2 or 3 times because the answer just won't stick in your short-term memory. The real danger here is the urge to fill the silence. When the banker or the lawyer or the high-pressure salesman on the phone pauses, your internal stress tells you to just agree. Just sign. Just say, yes, I understand, even if you only understood half of it. This is exactly how many people over 70 sign up for unnecessary fees, agree to unfavorable terms, or give away information they should have kept private. Your brain, feeling rushed, sacrifices clarity for speed. We must put a stop to this. Here is the wisdom to reclaim your clarity in conversations. The pause button rule. If you're discussing money, health, or legal matters, and you feel that internal squeeze, the pressure to speed up your answers, you must consciously invoke the pause button. Simply say this, clearly and firmly. Thank you for explaining that. I need a moment to write down those 4 key points. Please hold while I confirm them back to you. The person on the other end might sigh, but your peace of mind and your financial security are worth more than their patience. Make them slow down to your pace. If they refuse to summarize things simply, that is your giant red flag. If they refuse to give you time to write things down, hang up the phone or walk away from the table. Your defense against confusion is documentation. Never trust a verbal agreement on an important matter. Get it in writing. Demand a written summary, even if it's just an email. This simple habit protects your signature and keeps your money safe. Now let's move to the fourth and most critical sign of cognitive fog, the one that directly addresses the worry in the title of this video, the moment before you confuse a signature. Sign 4. The dizziness of documents and the desire to get it over with. This is the sign that often goes unnoticed because it happens in solitude, usually sitting at your kitchen table. You receive a thick envelope, new paperwork from Social Security, a revised mortgage document, or perhaps new terms for your home insurance. In the past, you might have grumbled, put on your reading glasses, and meticulously read the fine print. Now, you experience something different. You feel an unexpected exhaustion just looking at the stack of papers. The columns of text seem to swim before your eyes. You read the same paragraph 3 times, but the information doesn't consolidate into a clear decision. The fog hits hard right at the moment of decision. The result is a sudden, intense desire to just sign the bottom line and move on. It's probably fine. You tell yourself, I don't want to mess it up, so I'll just sign where the arrow is. That moment, the sudden retreat from careful review into reckless signing, is the cognitive fog actively undermining your independence and your financial stability. This is how people accidentally add strange beneficiaries to their accounts, sign over power of attorney without fully understanding the limitations, or commit to long-term contracts that cost thousands. They are simply too exhausted or too confused by the moment to protect themselves. You need a shield against this decision dizziness. We call this the 24-hour review and the red folder system. First, nothing that requires a signature concerning your money, your home, or your medical care should ever be signed on the day you receive it. Absolutely nothing. Even if there is a tight deadline, you take the full 24 hours. Put the document in a designated place. We suggest a sturdy, bright red folder kept in an obvious spot. This folder is your mental fortress. When you put the paper in the red folder, you are signaling to your brain, I am taking the anxiety away from this decision right now. It is safely stored, and I will review it when my mind is fresh and calm. Second, make a simple rule. If a document is crucial, you must review it twice, once after breakfast and once after a restful dinner. If the facts are still swimming after the second review, that document does not get signed. Instead of signing, you ask a simple question to the company. I need clarification on points 3 and 7. Can you send a short, one-page summary that only covers these 2 sections? This proactive step forces the providers to simplify the commitment. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It replaces confusion with control. This wisdom of taking time and demanding clarity is your greatest defense against the hidden dangers of cognitive decline that doctors often miss until it's too late. We've covered 4 critical signs of fog and the financial wisdom to counter them. But your brain's best ally against confusion isn't just good habits, it's rest. Our next segment is the most crucial because it deals with the hidden, silent danger happening in your home every single night. We're going to reveal 3 simple bedroom adjustments that protect your memory, secure your health, and ensure that your sleep is deep enough to fight off the mental strain we've discussed today. Stay with me, because a peaceful home starts with a peaceful night's rest. We've talked about the 4 subtle signs of brain fog: the slip-up on signatures, the paralysis at the store, the sudden avoidance of bills, and the overwhelming confusion caused by clutter. But knowing the signs is only half the battle. The real wisdom is creating the safeguards that keep you secure, independent, and safe from making a costly mistake in a moment of confusion. We are entering the final stage of protection, building the physical and mental shield. The first step towards securing your signature and your money starts not with a lawyer, but with your pillow. We must address the silent killer of clarity, chronic sleep disruption. When you're tired, your brain is sloppy. It rushes. It skips steps. It makes the signature mistake. Doctors often dismiss tossing and turning as just old age. It is not. Sleep is when your brain cleans house. If you don't clean house, the cognitive clutter builds up. If you wake up routinely around 2 or 3 a.m. with your mind spinning, usually worrying about a bill, a child, or a doctor's appointment, you must establish the 3 a.m. ritual. Keep a small notepad and pen right next to your bed, with a gentle lamp. When the worry hits, sit up and write down the single worry that is gripping you. Do not try to solve it. Just write it down and promise yourself you will tackle it at 9 a.m. This simple act externalizes the panic. It tells your brain, it's handled, now rest. You need 6 to 8 hours of solid, continuous sleep to ensure your decision-making center is sharp enough to protect your assets. Next, we address the easiest fix that doctors overlook entirely: hydration. Most seniors are walking around in a mild, chronic state of dehydration. This lack of water slows down every system in your body, but its effect on the brain is immediate and disastrous. Dehydration is a prime trigger for brain fog, confusion, and dizziness that can lead to falls. A foggy brain is far more likely to sign a document without reading the fine print. You need to establish the water glass rule. Carry a designated water bottle or glass with you at all times. If you sit down in the living room, bring the glass. If you go to the kitchen, bring the glass. If you finish one, refill it immediately. Do not wait until you are thirsty. Thirst is already a warning sign that the fog is forming. These are the immediate daily fixes to stabilize your mind. But what about the specific financial danger that comes with the signs of fog? How do we protect the signature itself? You must implement the 48-hour financial lock. Anytime you are presented with a document, a contract, a loan offer, a major purchase, or a request for a donation that requires a large sum of money, or your legal signature, you must create a mandatory delay. You do not sign it that day. You tell the person, politely but firmly, "I appreciate this, but my policy is that I never sign anything without waiting 48 hours. You put the document in a specific drawer or a physical box marked 48-hour lock. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of immense self-control and wisdom. It protects you from the momentary pressure and the rush of confusion. During that 48 hours, you must perform 2 simple checks. First, read the document again when you are well rested, ideally in the morning after a good sleep. Does it still make sense? Second, and this is crucial, you must have designated a trusted contact in advance. This should be a reliable child, a neighbor, a financial advisor, or even an attorney who has no personal stake in the decision you are making. You call them and say, "I am considering signing X. Can you look at this summary or talk me through the key points?" This creates a safety net. The moment you introduce a second pair of eyes, the chance of making a devastating financial error, the mistake that could jeopardize your independence, drops to almost zero. If you don't have anyone you trust, look for a nonprofit legal aid service for seniors in your community. They exist for this very purpose. Do this organizational step now, while your mind is clear. Do not wait for the fog to set in. Now, let's talk about physical movement. We often think of exercise as protecting the heart or the bones, but it is one of the most powerful tools for clearing brain fog. You do not need to run a marathon. You need gentle, rhythmic movement that moves oxygen into your brain and calms the stress signals that cause decision paralysis. The easiest habit is the kitchen counter stretch or the perimeter walk. While waiting for the kettle to boil or the microwave to finish, hold the counter and perform 3 slow leg raises or 3 deep stretches toward the ceiling. Simple, quiet movement breaks the mental static. If you live alone, commit to walking the perimeter of your house or yard 3 times, slowly, every morning. Pay attention to the colors, the sounds, and the temperature. This mindfulness resets your brain and prepares it for the day's decisions. Remember, the goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. Every small habit builds resilience against the mental pressures of aging. By stabilizing your sleep, ensuring proper hydration, enforcing the 48-hour financial lock, and incorporating gentle movement, you are actively securing your health, your home, and your wealth. You are ensuring that you, not confusion or pressure, Remain in charge of your signature and your life. This journey is about protecting everything you've worked for. We've focused heavily on the financial and cognitive safeguards, which are vital for maintaining independence. But true wisdom for aging well is incomplete without securing your deepest emotional needs. We've kept the money safe, but are we keeping the heart safe? In our next segment, we will pivot to the silent, often shameful burden that plagues seniors who live alone, the overwhelming fear of loneliness and widowhood, and the 3 surprising tools we can use to turn solitude into strength and security. This next step is perhaps the most important defense of all.